Right now, there is a woman in your life who has already decided she wants you. She made that decision weeks ago, maybe even months ago, and she has been screaming it at you in ways you are completely blind to. It is a truth that most men never hear from an honest source. Women do not wait around passively, hoping some guy will notice them. That is a fairy tale. The reality, according to research published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior, women initiate approximately 2/3 of all romantic encounters through nonverbal signaling. 2/3. That means in most relationships that have ever existed, she chose him first. He just did not know it. And that is the problem. She already chose him. She already ran the mental simulation of what it would be like to hold his hand, to be in a relationship with him, to introduce him to her friends. She did all of that in her head before he even figured out whether she was being just friendly. Now, here is where things get interesting, and honestly, a little bit scary. Because if he misses these signs, she will not wait forever. Women have a silent countdown timer, and once it runs out, she convinces herself she was wrong about him, and she moves on. Sometimes to the guy who was paying attention. And the cruel part is that he will never even know what he lost. There are 4 unmistakable signs that she has already made her choice. These signs are so clear, so specific, that once a man knows them, he will never miss them again. The first sign is that she creates reasons to be near him that make zero logical sense. When was the last time anyone went out of their way, genuinely inconvenienced themselves to be near someone they felt absolutely nothing for? Nobody does that. It is a waste of energy, and human beings are wired to conserve energy unless something important is at stake. So when a woman keeps showing up in his orbit for reasons that do not quite add up, it is not coincidence. It is strategy. Consider the story of a man named David, a friend of a friend, whose experience perfectly illustrates this point. David worked at a mid-size marketing firm. There was a woman on a completely different floor, different department, different everything. They had met at a company event, and suddenly, over the next few weeks, she started appearing in his section of the building. She needed to use that specific printer, even though there were 3 printers closer to her desk. She started going to the coffee machine on his floor. She once asked him a question about a software program that she absolutely could have Googled in 4 seconds. David thought she was just being sociable. His coworker pulled him aside one day and said, "Dude, she is into you." David laughed it off. 3 months later, she started dating someone else in the company. David told his coworker later, "I think you were right." Yeah, David, he was right, and now others get to learn from David's mistake. Dr. Monica Moore at Webster University conducted a landmark study observing over 200 women in social settings. She documented more than 52 distinct nonverbal behaviors women use to signal interest, and one of the most common was proximity seeking. Women will strategically place themselves in a man's physical space, sometimes repeatedly, as an invitation for him to engage. But here is the thing most guys miss. She will almost never admit that is what she is doing. If asked directly, "Hey, why do you keep coming to this floor?" she would give a perfectly logical explanation, and she would believe it herself, partially because women often rationalize these behaviors even to themselves. The desire to be near him operates on a level that is deeper than conscious thought. It is instinctual. So the sign is not just that she is around. The sign is that her presence near him defies practical logic. She is choosing the longer route, the less convenient option, the unnecessary interaction, because proximity to him feels better than efficiency. And if a man is noticing a pattern of her just happening to be wherever he is, that is not the universe being cute. That is a woman who has already made a decision about him. The second sign is that she remembers details about him that he forgot he even shared. This one is a dead giveaway, and it honestly surprises many men how completely they overlook it. Consider this scenario. He mentioned casually, maybe 3 weeks ago, that he had a dentist appointment coming up. He said it in passing. It was not a big deal. It was maybe one sentence in the middle of a longer conversation. Then 3 weeks later, she texts him or says in person, "Hey, how did that dentist thing go?" This is a powerful signal because human memory is not a recording device. Our brains are constantly filtering out information it deems unimportant. According to cognitive psychologist Dr. Daniel Schachter of Harvard, our memory systems are designed to prioritize information tied to emotional significance. We remember what matters to us. We forget what does not. So when she remembers that he mentioned his younger brother's basketball game, or that he said he was thinking about switching to a new gym, or that his mum's birthday is in October, she is not just being a good listener. Her brain has flagged everything about him as important. He is not background noise to her. He is the main event. Men will tell a woman their entire life story, and she will absorb every word like she is studying for a final exam. And then he will turn around and forget her birthday. It is genuinely ironic. But it also reveals something critical about asymmetry in attention. When someone is giving that level of attention, that is not friendship behavior. That is investment behavior. There was a study conducted at the University of Texas that found people in the early stages of romantic attraction demonstrate significantly enhanced memory for details related to the person they are attracted to. The researchers called it attentional adhesion. Basically, her brain is sticky when it comes to him. Everything he says gets filed, catalogued, and stored for future reference. And here is the part that should really make a man sit up straight. She is not doing this to impress him. Most of the time, she does not even realize she is doing it. It is automatic. Her brain has already categorized him as someone who matters, and it is operating accordingly whether she has consciously admitted her feelings or not. So if a woman is consistently recalling small, seemingly insignificant things he mentioned in passing, things that even he forgot about, she is telling him something. She has been paying attention to him at a level that goes beyond casual interest. Her mind has already chosen him. The third sign is one that women will sometimes argue about. They will say, "No, that does not mean anything. I do that with everyone." But the truth is, they do not like this. The third sign is that she gets subtly possessive or territorial when other women enter the picture. This is fascinating and slightly terrifying, but mostly fascinating. Everything is normal. She is chill, relaxed, easygoing. Then another woman enters the scene. Maybe a coworker mentions a girl who was asking about him, or a female friend hugs him a little too long, or he casually brings up that a woman he knows sent him a funny message and something shifts. It might be tiny, a slight change in her tone, a question that sounds casual but is loaded with intelligence-gathering energy, something like, "Oh, who is she?" or "How do you know her again?" Or the response that is technically supportive but dripping with something else entirely. "Oh, that is nice. She sounds great." When a woman says she sounds great in that specific flat tone, what she is actually communicating could fill a doctoral thesis. Anthropologist Dr. Helen Fisher, who has spent decades studying the neuroscience of love, explains that romantic attachment activates brain regions associated with reward, motivation, and yes, territorial behavior. When a woman has internally chosen a man, even if she has not said a single word about it, her brain begins treating his attention as a resource. And when that resource appears threatened, her response is not always rational. It is primal. This is not about toxic jealousy or controlling behavior. That is a completely different category and a red flag. What is being described here is the subtle, almost involuntary shift that happens when a woman who has feelings for him perceives even the slightest possibility of competition. A personal observation illustrates this perfectly. A friend named Sarah had been casually hanging out with a guy for about 2 months. She kept insisting they were just friends, even though everyone in their friend group had a running bet about when they would finally get together. One night, they were all out, and a woman none of them knew came up to him and started chatting. Sarah physically repositioned herself closer to him. She inserted herself into the conversation. She started touching his arm, something she had never done before in front of others. After the other woman left, Sarah went right back to her normal, relaxed behavior. When asked about it, she turned red and said, "I did not." She absolutely did. And the fact that she did not even realize it made it even more telling, because these responses are not planned. They are not calculated. They come from a part of the brain that has already made a decision, even if the rest of her has not caught up yet. So if a man notices a woman who suddenly becomes more attentive, more present, more physically close to him when another woman is in the picture, and then returns to baseline once the threat is gone, that is one of the clearest signs he will ever get. She has chosen him. She might not have told him. She might not have even told herself. but her behavior in those moments tells the whole story. The fourth sign is the most powerful of all. It separates "she might be interested" from "she is practically begging you to make a move." This sign is when she starts sharing her vulnerabilities and insecurities with him unprompted. This is the big one, and most men have no idea how significant it is. Women are conditioned from a very young age to protect themselves emotionally. Society, experience, and frankly survival instincts teach women to be careful about who they let in. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the most accurate measure of courage. And when a woman chooses to be vulnerable with a specific person, she is making one of the most significant emotional investments she can make. So when a woman starts telling him things she does not tell other people, her fears, her insecurities, the things she worries about at 2 in the morning, the parts of herself she usually keeps hidden, she is not just making conversation. She is handing him a piece of herself and trusting him not to break it. That is not something women do casually. That is not something women do with just a friend. That is something women do when they have already decided on a deep level that he is safe, that he is chosen. A story from a psychology forum perfectly illustrates this. A man named Marcus had been friends with a woman for about a year. They talked regularly, hung out in groups. Everything was surface-level pleasant. Then one evening, seemingly out of nowhere, she called him and told him about a family situation that was causing her enormous stress. She cried on the phone. She told him things about her childhood. She said she had never told anyone. It lasted 2 hours. Marcus was concerned and supportive, but he treated it as a friend thing. He did not read into it. 6 months later, she told him she used to have feelings for him, but had moved on because she felt he did not see her that way. Marcus said that phone call was when he should have known, and he was right, because here is what was really happening during that call. She was not just processing her emotions. She was testing, not manipulatively, but instinctively. She was offering him her most unprotected self and watching to see if he would hold it gently. It was an invitation disguised as a breakdown, and when he responded with care but no romantic initiative, she eventually interpreted that as disinterest. Research from the Kinsey Institute shows that emotional intimacy is the single strongest predictor of romantic bonding for women, stronger than physical attraction, stronger than shared interests, stronger than humor. When a woman opens up to a man emotionally in a way that feels raw, real, and unrehearsed, she is essentially saying, "I trust you with the parts of me I do not show the world." Now, what are you going to do about it? And here is the painful irony. The men who receive this gift of vulnerability the most often are the ones least likely to recognize it for what it is, because men are taught to view emotional conversations as problems to solve, not as invitations to connect. So she pours her heart out and he says, "That sounds tough. I hope it works out." And in her mind, the countdown timer ticks closer to 0. So if there is a woman in his life who has started peeling back her layers with him, sharing things that make her feel exposed, trusting him with parts of herself she normally guards, that is not her being emotional. That is her being brave. That is her choosing him in the most meaningful way she knows how, without actually saying the words, "I choose you." The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, whose work often touched on the nature of human choice and commitment, observed that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. When a woman stands at the precipice of revealing her feelings, she experiences that dizziness. She is free to choose, but the weight of that freedom is terrifying. And so she signals, she hints, she tests, hoping he will meet her halfway and relieve the vertigo. When a man sees her vulnerability and responds with warmth and reciprocation, he is not just accepting her invitation, he is steadying her in that dizzying moment of freedom. If a man is sitting here right now, recognizing these signs in someone specific, the unnecessary proximity, the detailed memory, the subtle possessiveness, the raw vulnerability, then he needs to understand something. She has done her part. She has given him every signal in her arsenal without sacrificing her dignity by making the first explicit move. The ball is not just in his court. It has been sitting in his court collecting dust. Women are not mysterious, unknowable creatures operating on some alien frequency. They are actually remarkably transparent once the language is learned. And the 4 signs just described are not obscure or ambiguous. They are clear, consistent, and backed by actual behavioral research. She creates illogical reasons to be near him. She remembers things about him that even he forgot. She gets subtly territorial when other women appear. And she trusts him with her most vulnerable, unfiltered self. If a man is seeing even 2 or 3 of these signs from the same woman, she is not being friendly. She is not being nice. She is being brave in the only way she feels she can be without risking total rejection. And the window will not stay open forever. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that unreciprocated romantic signals lead to emotional withdrawal within an average of 4 to 6 months. That means if she has been showing these signs and he has not responded, he is on borrowed time. Not because she is impatient, but because she is protecting herself. And at some point, self-preservation wins over hope. So what does he do now? He does not need some grand romantic gesture. He does not need to rent a billboard or write a poem. He needs to do one thing: match her energy. If she is making excuses to be near him, he should find a reason to spend time with her one-on-one. If she remembers his details, he should show her he remembers hers. If she gets a little possessive, he should let her know subtly that she has nothing to worry about. And if she opens up to him, he should open up back. That is the move. It is not complicated. It is just courage meeting courage. The philosopher Albert Camus, who wrote extensively about the human condition, stated that the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that one's very existence is an act of rebellion. When a woman signals her interest and a man responds with presence and courage, he is rebelling against the paralysis of fear. He is choosing to engage with life directly, to honor the connection being offered. There is a specific moment when a woman's body tells everything her words refuse to, and that moment is the hug. Not every hug, obviously, but there is a specific type of hug. The way she holds him, where she places her arms, how long she lingers, that reveals more about her true feelings than any conversation ever could. When a man receives a hug that is longer than a casual embrace, when she melts into him slightly, when her hands linger on his back, she is communicating at a level that words cannot reach. There is a reason the hug is one of the most intimate forms of physical communication. It requires proximity, trust, and a willingness to be vulnerable. When a woman gives a man that kind of hug, she is not just greeting him. She is claiming him, even if only for that moment. The philosopher Martin Buber, known for his work on the philosophy of dialogue, distinguished between I-it relationships, where we treat others as objects, and I-thou relationships, where we truly encounter another person. When a woman hugs a man with that lingering, genuine embrace, she is offering an I-thou moment. She is encountering him fully, without pretense. And the man who recognizes that moment and responds in kind is entering into a genuine dialogue of the heart. If a man has been paying attention to the 4 signs, if he has seen the proximity, the memory, the possessiveness, the vulnerability, and now he receives that hug, he should understand that the door is wide open. He should walk through it without hesitation. Everything has been leading to this point. The signs are there. The subtle touches, the careful texts, the nervous glances, the remembered details, the quiet sacrifices. They are all whispers of a heart that is already his. And if he has been paying attention, if he has been truly present, he has already seen them. The difference between the man who gets the opportunity and the one who misses it is not luck. It is not genetics. It is not cosmic fate. It is attention. It is presence. It is the willingness to see what is right in front of him. The philosopher William James, often called the father of American psychology, wrote that attention is the taking possession by the mind, in clear and vivid form, of one out of what seems several simultaneously possible objects or trains of thought. When a man focuses his attention on her signals, he takes possession of the moment. He sees the signs that others miss. And that seeing, that attention, is the foundation of connection. It is the moment a man stops wandering through life blind to the invitations being offered and starts stepping into the opportunities that have been waiting for him all along.